What's up, guys? So today is the 17th of May. And again, priorities are totally out of whack. I'm just embracing that because the mutable years is totally fucking with me. And me having Pluto, being a Plutonian, and having it in my sixth house of day to day, that's really screwing me up with the mutable years, and it's evident. Yeah. Besides the fact that it's my first Saturn return during this time, too. But anyway, I'm actually I felt inspired to do the truth about Scorpios video. My friend Nisha actually requested yesterday when I was attempting to live stream the truth about cancers video, and I told him that I would do that one next, and I intended to, but I didn't think that it would immediately, like, the inspiration would kind of just dawn on me, so this is what happened. So I was smoking. I live in Washington State, so weed's legal. I mean, I don't know why I feel like I need to do that disclaimer. I have Neptune in the 8th house, hello. Anyway, so I was smoking a little weed earlier, and I passed out. And I was actually rewatching the cancer video, or whatever, that I did. And, YouTube, the automatic loop thing, it continued to do that, and I passed out. And one of my videos that I didn't edit very well in previous times that had really loud audio it startled me, scared the fuck out of me, and I rolled off my bed over there and almost felt like I died. Got up and just instantly like jumped up to my computer to turn it off. And then I just started like typing, because I can type, like 70 words a minute. I started typing to people online, like, dude, I just scared the fuck out of myself, and they're like, what are you talking about? And it became more apparent that I was not totally awake as I continued to type, because, yeah, it didn't make any sense. But, yeah, that kind of is the opener to the truth about Scorpios. And so I'm going to go do my pwa and, make myself look a little different, change my shirt, probably. Maybe I'll put on my new dress I found yesterday. I went on another book adventure yesterday. Yep, I went out of town and I felt compelled to go to the thrift store, and I found even more fucking cool books than I did the other day. And also those probably separate, maybe not, who knows. Alright, now that my face is all done, and I procrastinated for a couple hours, and then I tried to do my Virgo thing where I was overthinking everything. And I've already actually tried to make this video once now. Let's not lie, twice, okay? Third time's the charm, right? So, the truth about Scorpios. Let's go ahead and just touch base. I don't appreciate this on your page. Please remove it. Yeah. No. No. Ooh, see, something just wants to interrupt me today. So now my next thing is... Is your things public? Yeah, no. That's funny. Is it because she deleted it? Oh, now I'm just... See, now I'm going to go totally Scorpio on this. I guess this is appropriate. Right? Well, it's still up. Who can see this? Shared with Lacey's friends. So friends and friends can see it. So technically, since I posted on it, that means that everybody on my wall can see it. So that means that I'm not gonna remove it. Sorry. People don't really like when I expose things. Scorpios are really good at that. I'm not a Scorpio Sun or Scorpio Rising, but I might as well be. With the Gemini Rising, my key planet being Mercury, and that being a Scorpio conjunct with Pluto. Yeah. And it's in the Virgo house too, which kind of just reinforces the whole connection to the Mercurial thing. I'm the epitome of Scorpionic. So one thing I'm going to stop saying in particular, it's driving me nuts. the one thing that is the truth about Scorpios that no Scorpio will ever admit, and even, I'm kind of torn between if I'm going to regret this or not, but I mean, we have to be fair. My Libra thing comes back at me and says, be fair. Fear is the number one thing that drives Scorpios, regardless of what that fear is manifested from. Think of them as an actual scorpion. We'll use the animal analogy yet again. I always think Emperor Scorpions, because why the hell are you going to touch the yellow ones? The reason why they're yellow and they're bright is because it's supposed to tell you that they'll kill you. If you get stung by an Emperor Scorpion, it's just like a bee sting. It literally is. In fact, the psychological, at least for me personally, because I've been stung by them before, the psychological impact of them actually striking at you is more terrifying than the actual sting itself. And interestingly enough, too, so Scorpios naturally are the underbelly or the essence of internal everything. So they are the motivations, they are the drive. It's the more evolved kind of phenomenon with Mars, because in ancient astrology, Scorpio was attributed to Mars. So Mars has to do a lot with your masculine side of your brain, which is your methodical, and obviously Scorpio being a water sign, it is very in tune with its emotions, just like with Cancer and Pisces. The reason why Scorpios in particular seem to be more in-depth as opposed to Cancers or Pisces is because Cancer and Pisces focus on the right side of their brain, which is the Neptune and Moon facets. But with Scorpio, they have to actually balance the masculine and the feminine side because of that dual natureship. So, they, when you integrate the entire cohesive function of the brain, and it has neurological connections going back and forth from right to left, that is when it is reached its most effective and concentrated potential. And that's why they're so deep into a lot of subjects. And that's where the deep metaphor actually comes into play. They're intense, they're overzealous, they're obsessive, and that comes from the fact that if you were to translate the planet Mars into emotion, what would it be? Think of Aries, intense, god of war, fire. It's even has to do with your sexuality, which is also why Mars and Scorpio's sexualities are really intense. So you think of it like that. But the fear factor comes into play because, despite the fact that their origin seems to be of darkness, their psychological facets work the same as everyone else's, regardless if it's a little bit more evolved, a little bit more focused, or whatnot. So, take for example, if you turn off the lights, and we were actually going to assume for a second that like my window right there is not casting light, whatever. When you see like my hand moving back here, I obviously know it's my hand, but say it was something else and I didn't. Do I know for sure what that is? Is that thing going to harm me? Is it dangerous? Is it something I should be concerned about? Is it going to bother? Is it going to ruin anything I'm doing or whatever? When you have those kinds of questions and you don't actually have information, answers, or visual confirmation of what the motives and behavior reasons are for that phenomenon, your mind actually starts to fill in the blanks like Mad Libs. And for Scorpios being in the dark a lot, they don't see what's going on around them sometimes, per se. But when they're focusing, when there's light projected onto something else, which is usually other people, not themselves, that's when they can really pinpoint and dissect something because they're focused with that. So in particular, most Scorpios would more likely be afraid of themselves as opposed to afraid of other things, depending on different aspects that would be in their chart. But fear is going to be the common denominator with all of these. A lot of Scorpios, the truth is, they're afraid of themselves. Or they're afraid of the things that they basically feel overwhelmed or consumed by. If you think again, with the Scorpio, the Emperor Scorpion being black, and being in total darkness, Scorpions in particular, they get to a point where like they're almost consumed, like it's like the color psychology. they're consumed by black and darkness, that's almost how they feel about everything. They have a tendency to dabble towards the pessimistic sides and the nihilistic sides of life. So it does get to a point where sometimes their fear becomes so intense, either fear of other people or fear of themselves, or fear of the unknown or the potential future dangers of the world around them for their survival, that they are willing, because they don't like to relinquish power to anyone else. They're willing to take themselves out just at the sake of basically humoring the illusion that they have control over every aspect of their life. Some of them would rather take themselves out than give somebody else the satisfaction or the authority or power to take them out, because that would just be insulting them. And so with a scorpion, when it's actually stinging you, there has been, luckily they have, that really tough exterior, the exoskeleton. They will sting themselves if that means getting their target. They will blindly just start wheeling their tail into things without even thinking. And it's not because they're not thinking like an Aries wouldn't think ahead of time before they act. They made the conscious decision at some point or another to go complete nihilist and just destroy themselves. And that's just, a side effect of them basically taking down whatever they feel is necessarily either an obstacle or something that is a threat to them, their happiness, their purpose, their meaning in life, or whatever, their existence. So that's an interesting factor. Also, psychology does play a lot into Scorpios. It is the higher vibration or evolved sense of Mars, which is motivations, and animal instincts is associated with Mars. So the more evolved sense of that would be psychological meaning, interpretations, and people kind of processing mentally why they do the things they do. In fact, another interesting thing I've pointed out before, when I'm looking for random books or whatever, I already know generation-wise what planets with certain signs are best known for, either contributing to the collective, to subject matter research or studies with certain subjects. So psychology obviously is a huge thing with Pluto. Scorpio getting into the underbelly or the beneath motives and seeing through people. That's why they're really good at that. It would make sense that Pluto and Scorpio generation would contribute significant, quality reference and theories to psychology and human behavior motives. So if you see this, subliminal learning, this is totally scorpionic, plutonic. Because basically you absorbing information without you even knowing it. And so this is actually a book going over and over. Silent voices, can subliminal tapes change your life? Which, fascinating enough, after I did that transit discussion on Saturn square Neptune, I determined the environmental factors and then the sociological factors with that. And taking a marketing class, understanding the psychological conditioning of marketing, I actually avoid watching commercials, and I even mute them. I won't even let the sound play because I know that they're fucking with me. I know it is. It's not even a convinced thing. They actually write marketing theory books on that, on how to perfect the way to get into your head without you even realizing it. And that absolutely, no. With Pluto and Capricorn, no. Not happening. Not happening. Pluto has to do with power. Psychological power. And Capricorn has to do with authoritarianism, fascism, control, restricting the collective, that sort of thing. So anyway, this subliminal learning book would likely be published within the Pluto-Scorpio generation, which began in 1984 and went till 1995. So let's see. Oh, wrong way. This looks kind of old because the binder's yep. Interesting. Validation. Oh, this way. 1988. Yep. Yep. Valuable book gives the public an awareness and understanding of the potential uses for subliminal learning. Yep. Yeah. So, I think that, God, I think that this is super short. I mean, it's not really a complex, and isn't that ironic? This is the particular archetype that everybody has difficulty explaining and elaborating on, and actually getting to the matter or the exact cause of things with their motivating behaviors. But that was pretty much it. I mean, yeah, they're nihilist as fuck because they're completely consumed by fear. Either a fear of themselves or fear of other things that they cannot control, because power is their number one MO. So the truth about Scorpios is that power will always play a role in everything they do. It is their major motivational factor, and fear is yeah. So I guess if you were going to look at it like Mars to Pluto, like, masculine to feminine side, because it's a water sign that was associated with Mars. The masculine side would be attributed to power and control. And the emotional response that they cannot obviously escape would be inducing fear as a side effect or a result of them completely being consumed and just fixated on power in general. Yeah, I feel like I've really sold you guys short or something. This is when the live thing should have been happening, but I didn't even bother today because I have this feeling that that's going to be a continuing problem. Yeah, I just feel that this should have been way longer than it is. Fuck it. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to post it, and I'll let Nisha just critique me, or anybody who else wants to jump in and say, I think you should add more to that, and maybe I'll do that. I'll do a part 2. Because I can do everything fucking different anyway. I never do anything the same. I don't know why I'm still trying to, make a cookie cutter thing about this. But anyway, so the truth about Scorpios. They're completely obsessed with power, control, which actually induces them to project fear into their lives, either through their perception, and they also do a reverse psychology counter projection to everyone else to look like they should be feared, because that is their defense mechanism, their psychological defense mechanism, to keep what they're actually afraid of at bay. And if they're actually afraid of themselves, then those will be the Scorpios that are less evolved, that actually know nothing about themselves in particular. The ones that are more evolved will likely have fears that are geared or focused elsewhere. I do have to say, from a personal experience though, in my recent times when I've been having some paranormal phenomenon going on with Pluto going over my Neptune, my 8th house, when the idea that I have a doppelganger that's a spirit ether of me stalking me down and basically trying to cause harm to me, I was actually mortified. I talked about that with my boyfriend Stacy, actually, because he says, well, at least you know what it is, it's you. And then I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, so it's okay. And I'm like, no, that's not okay. I'm a terrifying person. I am scary. I would be afraid of myself if I had myself coming after me. And then I thought, that's myself that has no, repercussions for what it does. And he's like, but it needs you. And I'm like, but eventually, one day, I'm going to die. I guess this kind of gives you, an insight to more of a Plutonic mind, doesn't it? I was like, one day I'm going to be dead. That thing realizes, I would assume, it realizes that one day I'm going to be dead. So eventually, at one point or another, that thing's going to have to grieve and get over the fact that it no longer has me, even if I'm useful. Therefore, it will just look at me as if I'm dead already. So therefore, it won't actually, preserve my life, per se, if it decides to actually do something to kill me. And I'm like, so the most terrifying thing that could actually be following me is not a demon or a devil. And that sounds really crazy, right? I'm sure people listening to this think that sounds really crazy. But I'm more afraid of if I had a clone or a doppelganger that was completely hell-bent on destroying me. I would be mortified and I'd be terrified and I would, I would cower and go hide behind whoever the hell I think could actually stop it, which I don't think anybody could. Yeah. Maybe that's the whole super galactic and the galactic center talking that are, fixed focals of my core personality. But holy shit, yeah. Fear of myself? I'm afraid of what I could do. Luckily I have Saturn on my angle, and that actually contains me. But, yeah. I would say that all Scorpios, to a certain extent, are afraid of themselves. Either afraid of what they're capable of, afraid of their unpredictable, volatile emotions or behavior, or they're just afraid of potentials of what they could do. And even just projecting that into relationships on a shallow level. Fear is the number one thing. And that's very funny and ironic because that's the number one thing that other signs in particular like to say about Scorpios, that they're afraid of them, that they're intimidating. But as a matter of fact, they're likely just as intimidated by you or themselves as you perceive them to be as intimidating or something to fear. Alright, that's it.